as a man who parks a $140,000 car in his driveway every night. His neighbors think he's rich. His co-workers ask him for money advice. His own family brags about him. But here's what nobody knows. That car isn't paid off. The house isn't either. Neither is the watch on his wrist or the vacation photos he posts online. If he lost his job tomorrow, he'd only have 11 days before he couldn't pay his bills. And here's the scary part. He's not rare. He might be your neighbor, your cousin, your boss. He might even be you. Today, we're going to look at how people build a life that looks rich while it's quietly falling apart underneath. And we'll show you how to make sure this never happens to you. Jackson is 34. He works in sales at a tech company. He makes $145,000 a year. That's great money, especially since he grew up in a home where his parents fought about money at the dinner table. Jackson promised himself he'd never live that way. So when he got promoted, he did what a lot of us would do. He upgraded his life. He moved into a nicer apartment, big windows, the kind of place you take photos of before you even unpack. He leased a new car. Nobody needed to know it wasn't fully paid for. He started going to dinners with co-workers where the wine cost more than his old rent. He dressed like the people one step above him. Somewhere in his mind he believed, if I look like I belong, one day I really will. And it worked, socially. People treated him differently. He got invited to more things. People introduced him as the guy who's doing really well. His parents finally stopped worrying about him. For a while, Jackson felt like he had made it. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. The rent on his apartment ate up 40% of his paycheck. His car payment and insurance took another big piece. Then there was a credit card he used just this month, but it kept growing. Add in dinners, trips with friends, a gym membership he barely used but felt too embarrassed to cancel. Jackson wasn't broke in the way people imagine broke. He wasn't skipping meals. He had a good job. He had nice things. But he had almost no savings, no investments, a credit card balance that quietly got bigger every few months instead of smaller. And a private fear he never told anyone about, that one bad month, one lost job, one surprise bill, and everything could fall apart. Jackson wasn't rich. Jackson was acting rich, and acting is expensive. Here's a hard question. Why did Jackson do this? He's smart. He's not careless. So why would someone choose to look rich instead of actually becoming rich? Because looking rich solves a problem that being rich doesn't always solve right away. The problem of being seen and accepted. Humans want approval. For most of human history, being accepted by your group wasn't just nice, it kept you safe. So our brains are wired to care about status. That wiring didn't disappear just because we live in apartments instead of caves now. It just shows up in new ways. Cars, clothes, trips, and living in the right neighborhood. Now this old wiring is being fed by something new, a highlight reel of everyone else's life, updated every single day. Social media didn't invent comparing ourselves to others, but it made it much bigger and much faster. Jackson isn't just comparing himself to his neighbor anymore, he's comparing himself to thousands of people online, all appearing to live better lives, all at once, every day. There's a name for what happens next: lifestyle inflation. Every time someone's income goes up, their spending quietly goes up too, sometimes even more. The raise that was supposed to build Jackson's future ended up building his image instead. And under all of this is one dangerous mistake: confusing income with wealth. Income is what comes in, wealth is what's left after spending, after debt, sitting there and working for you. Even when you're not working, Jackson had strong income. He had almost no wealth. And here's the sad part. From the outside, those two things look exactly the same. Looking rich versus being wealthy. Let's compare these two types of people. This is the part that changes how you see everyone around you, including yourself. The person who looks wealthy spends money to be noticed. The purchase doesn't feel complete until someone else sees it. Needs the image because without it, they're afraid they're nobody. Has an expensive lifestyle sitting on a weak, shaky financial base. Is chasing status, something that never actually finishes, because there's always someone one level higher. The person building real wealth spends money on things that grow over time. These are called assets. Invests regularly, often quietly, in ways nobody around them would guess. Controls their spending on purpose, not because they're cheap, but because they know every dollar saved today can work for them tomorrow. Is playing a totally different game, not status, but freedom. Here's the part that stings a little. The second person often looks less impressive. They might drive an older car. They might live somewhere simple. Nobody claps for them at dinner. But wait 15 years, the person who looked rich is often still stuck, trading their time for money. Still one bad month away from a crisis. Still performing for an audience that was never really watching that closely. The person who quietly built wealth now has choices. They can change jobs without panic. They can handle an emergency without a credit card. They can say no to work they hate because they don't need the next paycheck to survive. One of them built a costume, the other one built a life. This also happens at the highest levels of income too. Take professional athletes. Reports over the years, including well-known reporting from Sports Illustrated, have shown that a surprising number of former pro athletes face serious money trouble just a few years after their careers end. And this happens despite earning millions of dollars. The pattern is the same as Jackson's story, just with bigger numbers, fast lifestyle upgrades, expensive social pressure, and very little money actually invested behind the image. Entertainers show a similar pattern. There are well-known, widely reported cases of musicians who earned huge amounts of money early in their careers, spent heavily to keep up an image people expected from them, and later faced serious financial trouble once the income slowed down. The money was real, it just never turned into anything lasting. Even small business owners fall into this trap. A business can look successful. A nice office, new equipment, a growing team while quietly carrying more debt than actual profit. Revenue isn't the same as profit. Profit isn't the same as wealth. This trap shows up at every income level. It just wears a nicer outfit each time. The lesson here isn't these people were foolish. The lesson is that this pattern is strong enough to catch anyone because it's not really a math problem, it's a psychology problem. And psychology doesn't check your bank account first. Let's go back to Jackson for a moment. Picture two versions of his life, 5 years from now. Version 1, nothing changes, he renews the lease. The credit card balance keeps growing a little every year, quietly, while the apartment gets a bit nicer and the vacations get a bit further away. He still looks successful, he still gets the compliments, but privately, that fear from year 1 never really goes away. It just gets better at hiding. Version 2, something changes. David sees this pattern for what it is, not his own personal failure, but a very common trap, and starts making small, quiet, unglamorous changes. Nobody claps, nobody notices. But 5 years later, his whole financial foundation looks completely different. And here is the big idea this whole story has been building toward. The person who looks the richest in the room might not be the person who is actually winning. Real wealth is often invisible. It doesn't need an audience. The house with the older car in the driveway might actually have more financial security than the mansion 2 streets away. You cannot tell who is winning financially just by looking at them, and often they can't tell either if all they're doing is comparing themselves to others. So how do you make sure you build a real life instead of just a costume? Here are some simple rules. 1. Build assets before you upgrade your lifestyle. Before your spending goes up, let your investments go up first. Treat investing like a bill you pay before anything else, not just whatever's left over at the end of the month. 2. Know exactly where your money goes. You can't fix what you don't track. Most lifestyle upgrades happen quietly, a little at a time, until one day you look and wonder where it all went. 3. Avoid debt that pays for an image instead of your future. Debt used to buy something that grows in value is a tool. Debt used to buy the look of success is a trap that charges you interest on your own insecurity. 4. Build a savings habit before you need it. An emergency fund isn't exciting, but it's the single biggest difference between a bad month and a full financial crisis. 5. Invest regularly, even in small amounts. Real wealth is rarely built from one big win. It's built from small, boring, repeated choices made over many years when nobody is watching. 6. Learn the difference between income and wealth and never forget it. Before every purchase, ask yourself, am I building something or just performing something? That one question, asked honestly, will change your financial life more than almost anything else. None of this is exciting. None of it will get you comments calling you goals. But this is the real formula that every quietly wealthy person has followed, while the loudest person in the room was often the one closest to falling apart. Jackson's story isn't really about Jackson. It's about a trap built into the world we live in, a world that rewards looking successful faster and louder than it rewards actually being successful. But here's the truth underneath all of it. Nobody hands out trophies for looking rich. There's no scoreboard that tracks who impressed the most people this year. The only scoreboard that really matters is the quiet one, the one that shows up when you lose your job, when an emergency hits, when you finally get to choose the life you want instead of the one your bills are forcing on you. True wealth was never about proving something to the people around you. It's about freedom, security, the power to make choices from strength, not fear. You don't need anyone to know you're winning. You just need to actually be winning. So here's a question I want you to sit with, and I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. If nobody could see your bank account, your car, or your house, if status was completely invisible, would you still be making the same money choices you're making right now?